Time to go.
I'm just gonna sit here though. With
Okay,
my hat
hold on a
because
second. Let me just get
still cold.
organized. All right, get a thumbs up. Okay. Welcome to the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust meeting of January 10th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. We're meeting in Memorial Hall in Town Hall. And the session is being recorded. This meeting is being recorded by Westborough TV and will be available online and broadcast also. So call to order. Everybody should have had a chance to look at the minutes from December 13th. They're not in the packet right now, but we should have, a chance to go through it. I saw only a couple of very small nits, which I sent back to Kristen, and otherwise I think it's pretty accurate. It was a short meeting. So I'll entertain, unless somebody has a question, I'll entertain a motion for acceptance of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second, and all those in favor? Okay, we got five being present. Thank you. Corporal Vosikis, is that the right pronunciation?
Vosikis, correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. Corporal Vosikis, why don't you come up and, as some of you know, I sent out, or at least I sent out to Alan, I think a couple people, that we were, Corporal Vosikis is through having to make a call at 6 Beach Street because of a light bulb being out, prompted you to say, oh, this might be an opportunity for us as part of your SWAT team, and I'll let you go into more detail to do a practice or training at that property. So we did send you some questions, and I'll turn the floor over to you, and welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bond. Thank you, the Trust, for having me out here. I'll talk a little bit about myself first, just so you guys get to know me. My name's John Vosikis. I've been a police officer since 2017. The past 3 years, I've been working for the town of Westborough. For most of those 3 years, I've also been part of the SEMLEC SWAT team. SEMLEC stands for Central Mass Law Enforcement Council. These stats are a little outdated, but as of right now, we cover about 60 cities and towns, primarily in the Worcester and Middlesex counties. Land area of over 1,600 square feet, excess of 750,000 people in the population that we cover. There's numerous teams within SEMLEC, the motor, cycles, the drone, K9, crash recon, negotiations, as well as the SWAT team, which again, I'm part of. SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics, provides specialized services and equipment that municipalities normally don't have. We provide event security, execute search warrants, respond to barricade subjects, and other high-risk law enforcement activities. We train twice monthly. The training, there's 2 tiers of training that we're going to be doing for, I guess the best way you can word it is close quarters. Inside buildings and stuff like that. We also train at the firearms range as well, but we'll be talking about the close quarter training that we'll be looking to use at 6 Beach Street. So there's 2 tiers. I'm not going to get into too much specifics for operational security, but I'll kind of explain the 2 tiers roughly to you guys so you know what I'm talking about. Tier 1, there'll be no permanent damage to the structure. So we use simunitions and paper targets. Simunitions are reduced energy, non-lethal cartridges that leave a water-soluble color marking compound on whatever the impact, similar to like a paintball round. And actually have examples, if I can walk up to the truss and show you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is what the cartridge looks like when it's all together, and then after it's expelled, the cartridge and then the projectile.
Okay. Can I trust you?
Yeah, I just
So the markings are easily cleaned up, and the cartridge will be removed. They don't leave any permanent damage to anything. Just besides, they'll go through the paper and they'll leave like a slight little mark on the wall itself. So that's tier 1. Tier 2 is permanent damage done to the structure. So in tier 2, we'll be breaching doors, windows, and the like. Usually we resort to tier 2 right before the structure is going to get torn down to be rebuilt for something different. There can be a combination of both tiers, tier 1 and tier 2. We can breach the interior doors while leaving the exterior doors untouched so that we can still secure the structure after we're said and done with the training for that day. Training is normally scheduled during the daytime hours. I know that was one of the questions, but we also sometimes will operate at night. We have in-service yearly for a week straight. During that, we also do daytime and nighttime operation trainings. But normally it's during the daytime that we'll be doing the trainings. There will be signs posted that we're going to be doing training. It'll say police training in progress right around whatever area we're working. And we can also put a social media post on the Westborough Police Department page saying that there's going to be training, locate this address, this time, do not be afraid. As for liability, all members are certified law enforcement officers and are working under their respective agencies when they come to train. So they're covered under Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 100, and Section 100F. I sent the 2 chapters to Kristen. I don't know if you guys got that in your packet, but I have extras in case.
Everybody get a copy. Yeah.
Okay. So they're covered by the agency's liability insurance policies when they're working and training with us. And,
Now that, just a question.
Yes.
As I was looking at those, that's primarily to cover any injuries or problems for the officers involved.
Correct.
That's all, that's what it primarily covers.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's normally no written agreement in place, but my team commander, who's obviously the chief, I guess, if you look at it for the Semlec SWAT team, he can draft up a policy saying that the trust will be indemnified against any injuries in place at that residence if an injury does occur. But normally we don't write those written agreements, but my team commander said he'd be willing to do one if necessary, if you guys need it.
It would be things that, I think, for example, I'll let you do your presentation, would be, if part of the building falls down onto an officer, we don't want to be held responsible. It is a property that is right now planned to be demoed. So it's in decent shape, but it's an old house.
It's in better shape than most of the buildings we normally work in, believe it or not. We work in condemned buildings frequently for training, so it's in very decent shape for training purposes at least.
I would still ask that your safety officer do an advance, if we go forward with this, do an advance tour of the building, because when we acquired the building, there was some concern about the structural integrity of some of the staircases.
Okay.
And we just would want someone to go in before and say,
of course,
yeah, this is not going to work, or it will work from a safety perspective.
So if we are approved to go forward, the next step would be my assistant team commander will come out and we do a walk around the building, interior of the building, and he would take a look at it, and we can address any safety concerns, any positions or any areas you want us not to go into, any places aren't safe. We'll put caution tape up. We will not go into that during the training times. That's about all I have for my presentation. I think I covered most of the questions, but if you guys have any more, I can do my best to answer them for you.
You talked about the nature of the training. I'm just looking through the question. You did talk about force entry that you may want on the tier 2.
Yes.
Where, so that would be like you knock down a door.
Correct.
To gain entry.
Correct.
How do you remedy that afterwards? Because we need to keep the place secure.
Understandable. So normally, like I said, we only will go to tier 2 right before the structure is going to get raised or taken down. It's usually like the day before, the week before. I could look at getting some 2x4s to board up the door after, but normally at that point, when we're breaking any doors from the exterior, within the next few days, the building gets torn down itself.
Right. Just from timing perspective, right now everything is sort of in abeyance on that property plus one other we have, pending the sewer moratorium. Are you aware of that in Westborough? There's no new hookups to sewer allowed, and as a result, some of the developments that we eventually plan to do on that property and others. We don't know when that will be lifted or whether we will have access to that. So as far as going out for a bid and RFP for developers, it's good if we can tell them what the state of the world is. So nothing's going to happen until probably next summer or this coming summer at the very earliest, because we probably won't get the sewer moratorium and then possibly need to get a waiver for those properties into the late second quarter, if we're lucky, that we'll know for purposes of doing an RFP for developers to come in.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea that, the demo, I doubt, wouldn't happen until later this year, second half of this year. I don't know if anybody,
Yeah,
if we're lucky.
Yeah, it may go faster than that. It may not. Certainly tier 1 training
Yeah.
that's on the interior that doesn't, damage the building or, damage the exterior could be done sooner than that.
There is a large field in the back, like the property goes, I don't know if you printed out a plot plan.
I did, yes.
Okay, so you can see how it probably goes back, and then there's a big area in the back, which is why we bought it, so we can develop that part.
Yep.
Okay.
How many times would you use a property for like tier 1?
So it all depends on the property, the use of training value in it. We work in a lot of schools. We work in the Leicester Middle School, the Northbridge, I believe it's a middle school as well. And we go back to that probably 5-6 times a year because it's a larger plot. For smaller buildings, smaller residences, after we go through one or two runs throughout the day, we start to get a feel and understand the actual layout of it, and it loses its training value.
Yeah.
However, we don't really work in too many residences because it's very hard to get residences with the town, with the Semlec team. So we might be coming back if we're allowed to use it multiple times throughout the year.
Yeah, because I just think with what Ed's saying is that, the value of the tier 2 level training isn't going to be there for you for a while probably, unless you're willing to like secure up the building. But even then, I'm not sure we would want that, because we don't want a building that has 2x4s on the windows or on the doors necessarily, even though the property is going to be demoed for very long. So I think that it's, it's got
Unless
some,
you can take the whole building down.
correct.
Let's
You
say
can
the
get
silver-
that rid
We
of
do
it
have a
for
Bearcat,
us.
and we can punch holes in walls. So if you want us to do that, we could probably do that.
Yeah. So I think that there's definitely there's value there for the tier 1 for a while. It's just, it might lose some value for you over if you have to do it many times. So, but yeah, the tier 2 won't be available, like Ed said, for a while.
And that's quite all right. Like I said, we do a lot of tier 1 training. The tier 2 training, we probably do of the 24 trainings we have throughout the year, we probably do tier 2 training maybe 2 or 3 times at most.
Okay.
I assume you guys take responsibility for notifying, dealing with all the other emergency services folks in town. I'm sure you do a good job of trying to make the neighbors aware that you'll do a good job making sure that you try to make the neighbors aware of what you're doing ahead of time. But there's bound to be a couple of neighbors who don't pay attention.
Yes.
That's pretty typical. So
Yep.
there'll be 911 calls, or there'll be calls to the
Yes.
police department. I'm assuming you guys make sure all those folks know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Correct, we do.
Building department, if needed, is aware. Okay. So
Yeah.
you've got all that responsibility.
One of the things that we value is we've been in existence since 2020, fall meeting 2020, when we established the trust, or the town voted to establish the trust. So, over the past four years plus, we've taken. We're very sensitive to our, if you will, presence in the community and our reputation in the community. So we don't want to, as we go for special permits and things like that, we want to have a positive view of what we're trying to do amongst the neighbors and things like that, and we don't want to, upset them needlessly. So, we're very sensitive to that. And as I'm sure you are too, in these kind of environment, you like an urban environment with that. Other questions people have, concerns?
I think if we agree to allow this to happen, we should probably do an abutters notification from the trust to say that while the building's waiting for the project to move forward in demolition. We've made it available for emergency services training, keep it not just specific to SEMLEC, but at some point, as we get close to demolition, the fire department might want to practice roof venting and things like that, like they did on the building on Otis Street, or simulated smoke, residential conditions, so there could be potential fire department training down the road. We offered Baylor for that. It didn't work out.
No.
Because the condition of that building.
Yeah, the asbestos, the fire department decided they
And the
didn't want to
structure of
burn
the
the
roof.
building and release a
And
cloud of
Tom's-
asbestos particles.
That would be good for the neighborhood.
And part of the roof structure, it wouldn't be safe to
Yeah,
do
the
training,
1 by
but
2
if this building could support it. So we just let the community know that, that this could happen, and that when it is happening, there'll be signs posted in the area so that they're aware, and if they have questions, they can contact us as well. So
Yeah.
we can send out a letter.
I just had a sort of a follow-up question to Kate on the frequency.
Yes.
And I know you had said like you'll go through the house once or twice in a given day. My question is more where like how often would you expect to be at the house? Like, is it the kind of thing you come in for one day and then you're not back for a month or two, or is it 2 or 3 days in a row?
So it all depends on my assistant team commander who's in charge of setting up all the training dates. We have numerous facilities that we do use frequently. Like I said, we have a couple different schools we go to on a regular basis. There was one residence in Webster that we would go to probably quarterly. That one is actually getting torn down, so this might take the place of that one. So I can't say for certain how often we'll be there. I know that we're looking for new training venues, so if this one is available to us, we will try to come out and use it immediately, and then we might come back, depending on the training value, another once or twice throughout the year. But it could also be more, so I can't give you an actual answer.
It just
unfortunately.
ballparkish, which that's sort of close enough. Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 times a year.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just authorize the chairman to execute an agreement with the appropriate authorities to give them access to the building?
Right. I would like to just create a working, a small group, maybe just Alan and myself, unless you feel
No.
that. I mean, I would ask Sarah only from, we have one person who's not here that's an attorney. But I would say that what I would like to do is create a working group of myself, Alan, and Sarah, just so that if there's any legal documents and things, we have somebody that can take a look at them.
So, yeah, so that's fine. I guess I would just, the motion I would make would be move to, to authorize the use of the property for appropriate emergency services training, including SEMLEC, Westborough Police, Westborough Fire, with specific, arrangements as to the level of training and the timing of training to be done through the chair and the working group.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Did you get that, Kristen?
Yes. I'm impressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Other questions? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor? All right, we have 5-0 and 5 being present. So what we'll do is we'll get in touch. I mean, I can be your point of contact.
Okay,
You
thank
know,
you.
and what we'll do is, draft up a formal letter per the motion that we just passed. So that way you can disperse it. Maybe you can be the point person to get it, to the chief minority, to Chief Purcell, et cetera, or we'll copy them. We'll figure that out just so that they understand that they may have some options there too.
Of course.
And give you some timelines, just
Right.
what we're seeing.
And set the expectation that Tier 2 training would be scheduled close to a known demolition time.
Yes.
And,
Of course.
so that the building stays secure.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Any other questions you have for us?
I think you guys answered most of them. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
We're glad to always help the police and the fire, and, whenever we can, provided that, we make sure that the neighborhood is
Of course.
in the loop on it. Okay.
course.
Thank you very much, Corporal.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, how are we doing? 9:20.
Yeah, right on the
Look at
nose.
that, we're right on time. Cottages update. Hank, you want to?
Sure, a couple of things then. We had gone to Teagan Bond
Yep,
for a price on a so-called Phase 1 environmental.
yep,
Phase 1 environmental is basically a document search. It looks at all the documentation that's available to see if there's any possible environmental risks of the property.
right.
It's fairly typical that you have to do that. They want $4,900 to perform that task. Teagan Bond does this sort of work for the town. Frequently, they're they're on our qualified vendor list or whatever we call it. And I would suggest we ought to go ahead and do it because you need to do it. You don't want to be any uncertainty if you're going out, when you go out on RFP. So, I don't know if I need authorization to spend. I don't think I think
I'd like
you
to-
guys authorized us to spend. I just wanted to check in before we commit.
Yeah, we had previously voted a budget,
Yeah, 10
Or-
grand or something. I don't remember what.
so we're within
So,
that.
yeah,
Yes,
I'm
we
sure
are.
we're within that.
Yeah.
So we don't need, I
No,
can
we'll-
sign that, I'll sign that and then
We'll go
get
ahead
it over
and
to you.
get
or
Teagan
whatever.
Bond to go do that.
Yeah, for
We'll need to
that.
get, some point, they won't even need access to the building, I don't think. If they do, we'll sort it out.
Well,
They should.
they
this
might-
is High Street.
No, this is Beach Street.
Oh, I thought our concern was High Street because of
both.
the,
No, well, we're concerned about Beach Street because of the tannery that was next door, and in some of the permitting that was done for the Westborough Country Villages, they had identified that there had been a tannery and there had been I forgot the disease or risk of a disease that's associated with cattle, anthrax, excuse me. And so again, and there's, because there had been, it was an industrial area in
Okay,
town
okay.
for many years, we ought to do a Phase 1 environmental.
okay, that's fine.
We may need to do the same thing on High Street. I don't think so,
So-
because the risks are a lot lower.
I guess I'd be interested in seeing what incremental cost would be to do High Street, knowing that
Sure,
even though
we'll
High
check.
Street's a low
Yep.
risk.
We can authorize Teagan Bond and ask
and
him.
do
hey,
that.
Just get a quote and
Yeah, okay.
I can do
Because-
both
Yep,
if
that's
we
fine.
need to.
I'll
One-
do that.
And see what discount they'll
Yep.
give us for
Yeah.
a 2-for-1.
Teagan Bond's probably not extremely flexible on their pricing, but
Right, my concern with High Street is, because a level one usually does, they won't need to go in the building, but there'll be a property walk around.
yeah.
And so my concern with High Street is there's been any illegal dumping
Yeah, right, there probably has been, but.
or leaching, from neighboring properties. So just, and if they see any indication that that's the case, it would be good to know. If not,
We can do that,
At the very least, they come back and say there's no indication of any hazard.
Yep.
With a level one, there's no need to do a level two.
Right.
We put that in the RFP. It puts the developer's mind at ease. It
Right,
lowers
our
the risk of the
our goal
project.
is in these activities that we're doing now is to try to mitigate concerns from developers when they get an RFP that we've already done some due diligence on the property so that they don't need to and that they're walking into something that's buildable, with minimal, if no mitigation. All right, if you can do that, Hank, and
Sure.
then get it over to me and we'll activate on that. Now,
The second piece of information about Beach Street, I again sent another email I can't remember, late December, early January, to the property manager, asking to set up a conference with their attorney, and didn't even get a response to the email. So we're not having a lot of success getting their attention. With help from the planning department, we've researched all the planning approvals that allowed that place to be built. There's no obvious leverage point where we have leverage to pressure them to talk to us. So we may need to start thinking about, are there other ways we can besides emailing them and calling them on a phone, can get their attention.
Have we communicated with the property owners?
This is the agent of the owner. Well, I'm not sure. We have not communicated with the property owners. The property is managed by a real estate management company out of Boston. And we've communicated with them. There's some kind of a partnership that, a limited liability partnership that owns the property. We could try and send a letter to whoever, we go to the state files that have information and get the name and send a letter to them. My guess is they'll just send the letter to their agent.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion would be sending a certified letter to both,
Okay, sure.
addressed to both, and I can help draft that. And the question is, do we have enough of a plan of exactly what easement we want and what the impact would be on their property? So in other words,
yes and no. I mean,
depending where the road came out, my
Yeah,
understanding, there's one handicap space that could be affected.
Yeah, I mean,
Have
yes and no.
we-
We do have an understanding. What the likely place where they would be, when you negotiate, you have something to give to get something, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a trading out. You're trading horses. If you don't have a horse, you can't trade horses. Well, they do have a parking problem, in the sense that they probably could use more. I believe they're in compliance with their permit, but they believe they could use more parking space, and they're reluctant to lose spaces. So we might be able to, there may be a way, I haven't had any engineering done, that we would be able to give them some parking if they gave us access. So we don't have that. We know that that's something we could consider. We do have an idea. We know exactly where we would want to put an exit. If they have ideas about better places, we could do that. But again, we got plot plans. We got plot plans showing their relationship. We've got all the kind of this top level engineering that would allow you to have a conversation. And then if we identify trade-offs that might be of interest, then we can go get more engineering done.
Okay.
So we've got enough to have a conversation, but until we understand what it is they would be looking for in exchange for giving us the right-of-way, it's very hard to make proposals.
Would we be able, well, I know we would, but just the layout, would allocating a portion of the end, their end of that back lot at Beach to provide them additional parking might be an option?
Again, until we understand that they're interested in that, and where and how and whatever.
But
it's
I
not
mean,
really-
we do have some room there.
Oh, yeah,
Obviously, it may affect what we can do, but.
I mean, so again, we can send a letter to them. The other thing is we may want to start thinking about Plan B. If for some reason, I don't know what the reason would be, we're never able to get a right-of-way, what could we do with the property? Which would mean going back to the engineers and saying, okay, what will the fire department require in terms of turnarounds,
Like a loop or
access,
something,
loops,
or-
whatever the heck, and what would that do to us? So that would also give us some understanding of the financial trade-off we're making.
Sure.
Okay.
So again, if folks feel like that's worth doing, I'll talk to WDA and, make, we could wait until we have another,
I think before talking to WDA, we should just talk to the fire department
okay,
and say, if we can't get this easement,
yeah, what would you request? Sure.
Yeah.
what would you
Yep.
need, either
Yep.
turnaround space or layout? They may say, so long as the driveway goes back and straight,
Yep,
right, which would mean the parking would be a little further away from some of the units potentially, then that would give us guidance to WDA to go back
Sure,
and say,
great, we can do that.
if the fire department says X, what would the design look like? And how many units could we fit?
So that's Beach Street.
Right, so an action item there sounds like,
You and I will
You'll
work
reach
together
out.
and
well,
draft a
two
letter.
things, I think. From what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, one action would be, let's get in touch with the fire department.
Yeah, no,
And
right.
say, what's your,
Yep,
if we cannot get this access,
Mm-hmm.
what would you need in order to approve, if you will, or be,
Mm-hmm.
supportive of our layouts? The second would be, I think, doing registered letters, just because it
certified.
brings in some gravitas
Yeah.
from a select board member, as well as I can sign one on behalf of the trust, just indicating that would really want to do this, emphasizing the need for affordable housing in both Westborough and the Commonwealth.
I could begin a draft it and send it to you guys to
Okay.
Okay.
clean up, and then when we have something, we'll.
Okay, that would be
In the
great.
meantime, I'll make another attempt to make contact with the building manager.
Okay.
Yep, just
Excellent.
We just gotta keep,
keep,
eventually she may talk to me just to get me to go away.
I've heard that's been done before.
Yes, I've experienced with that.
Okay, we set there, Kristen, with the to-dos? Great. All right,
High Street.
High Street.
We've had, WDA, of course, was doing some more engineering work, a plot plan, field survey, topographic detail, and they've come back, within the last week or so, they've come back with that. Now, they've also dug some test pits,
Yep,
and some notable things from that are, we've discovered, well, one thing is, the depression in the middle of the property is 12 feet deep. Okay, so it's a pretty deep depression. I'm going to talk with Ken about getting he's got the resources to give us an idea of what it might take to fill that depression, to bring it back up to grade and such. Second thing is, there are rights of way for sewer and water lines across that property. It goes right through the middle of it.
back, yeah.
From High Street going toward
Mayberry.
Mayberry Drive. You can't build anything on top. I believe, I haven't done the research yet, but it's unlikely that we would be allowed to build anything, septic or anything else, over the top of those rights of way. You can put a road across it, maybe. There's some restrictions on putting roads across right of ways, but
Whose right of way is it?
it's town water and sewer.
Okay.
So, but also just to remind folks that we do have a wetland replication issue that we have to deal with. So what all of that does is it restricts the area in which you can put things.
Right.
Buildings, septic fields, that sort of
Okay.
thing.
So, and
So-
I dropped the ball. I haven't gotten the letter to Director Payant yet about the waiver for
Yeah,
wastewater, but I'll get that done in the next week.
I mean, one of the decisions we're gonna have to make is I haven't talked with WDA about, okay, given that you got the test pits, what does that mean in terms of septic?
Yeah.
But, by the way, the other thing they uncovered, in one of the tests, they did 5 test pits. In one of the test pits, they discovered some
Gold?
very substantial sized boulders.
Okay.
So what they're suggesting is that when work was done on the site, somebody had boulders to get rid of them, they dumped them in some areas. So what that says is there's some unknown risk of hitting some hard excavation.
Can we move those to the 12-foot depression?
Yeah,
Well, the other question is, how deep were the boulders? I mean, that's,
they
They were
were
12?
in that pit. They were pretty deep. I think they were 9 feet in that pit. I'm surprised they went down 9 feet.
okay, so
They may not. It's just,
if we're looking at slab on grade,
I understand, but
construction, then any-
still, a frost wall goes down 4
4
feet
feet,
to the
right.
bottom. Plus, you got to put the footings underneath that. And so again, if we didn't do test pits, we didn't dig up the whole site,
there's
right?
a risk.
So what we know is that somebody disposed of some large rocks at some locations.
point.
You don't know where. You're not going to go find out. It's just too expensive to go find out.
Right.
So you just kind of know you're going to have an ongoing risk when and oh, by the way, you don't want to deviate from the slab on grade because the issues will be,
Significant,
I
yeah.
mean, digging a full basement is going to be a very high risk. Okay, what all this says is we may not be able to put as many units as we had originally thought on there, and we may want to because of the restrictions in the available buildable area, we may want to may want to abandon the idea of using septic. We don't have to make that decision today, but
Right.
that's something.
Well,
we
let me
need to
get the
consider.
letter to Payant, Director
There may
Payant.
be options for duplexes so that the footprint is a little less, but we'll have to look.
Yeah.
I do have copies. I thought I'd put them in the packet, we will for next time, that has the engineering drawing. Would it help if you had, because it's pretty inexpensive, only like $4.50 to get a 24 by 36 printout, which is the scale that they have of that. I can get a couple of those printed out quickly at Staples, just so that we have larger engineering drawings.
I'm happy with what you want.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you want that.
Let me.
Kristen?
I'll do that.
Ed, we have a plotter in the building department.
Yeah, building
So if
department
you
may be
ever
able to print
need 24 by 36
Okay.
or larger
All right. I can bring
plans, I
over
can do that. Just send the
a
file.
PDF of the.
I can email you a PDF.
Yeah, just send
Yeah,
me the
if you
file. I
can do
print it.
that.
Sure.
And why don't we do 3 copies of the, it's 24 by 36. Do you have a copy of that email? No, okay.
I'll make sure
Yeah,
to
Hank,
send
if you
it
can
over.
send over that, and we should also include that in next month's packet. You know, both the layout, it'll only be 8.5 by 11, but just as importantly, the first part, which is the 5 drill sites and what they found at different levels.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, again, probably in the next month or so, Ed and I and Ken need to get together and decide what do we believe is the next step with the engineering folks.
Okay.
Given that we've had this new information and we now
Yeah.
have a much better understanding of site conditions. It's a very tight site.
Yep. But the price was right to buy it. Okay, where are we down? So that's HP Cottages. Anything else, Hank?
Nope,
Nope.
thank you.
Okay, went a little longer on that. Rental assistance. I know, Kate, you had some concerns.
So we met yesterday, so just an update
okay.
on the RAP program. So 8 applications have been submitted to Metro West Community Development for stabilization assistance. So basically folks who are back behind on their rent due to all sorts of different circumstances. One has been actually completed of those 8. So I got a notification this morning that 1 has actually been completed. The concern is that the application process is a little bit onerous. It is much longer than the application process that we had put together for Sarah.
For Sarah.
So, and there's more requirements. And so it seems as if the requirements are coming from more of like applying for affordable housing in general rather than a stopgap program such as this. So Alan's going to draft a memo to Metro West Community Development. They're just working on our best behalf really here. So they just need some guidance from us that they can loosen the reins a little bit. We have some guidelines that kind of established ourselves as to what we would like that to look like. So none of the eligibility requirements are changing. It's more around just what type of documentation we would require.
So is this in the application?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's the application and the required documentation.
Okay.
So for example, the template, nothing would change.
Oh, okay.
From a publicity standpoint,
Yeah.
or marketing standpoint, we need to confirm that people are 80% AMI or
Yep,
less,
yep.
and that they're at the 50% burden rate, the extreme
Yep,
burden
yep.
rate is defined by HUD. So, to that end, we need to have an accurate view of their income, of what they're paying in rent, the size of the unit, and the number of people in the household. Right? We don't need, for example, right now they're collecting the names and social security numbers of everyone in the household. We don't need the social security numbers. We don't need the names of minors. We do need the names of everyone over 18 because that's part of the income process. Additionally, the template that they base this off, we don't have any asset requirements.
Right.
And it's asking for asset information, so we can strip that out.
So that could actually be deleted on the flyer here. It does the income and asset eligibility. You could just say income eligibility.
Yeah, we can just change that one line.
Let's see.
So take the word "and asset" off.
Or just asset.
Right.
So just income.
Income eligibility, or
Income
just
eligibility.
eligibility. Right.
And,
And so we're gonna put a memo together and then talk to them next week about streamlining the process. It'll reduce the back and forth. And there are other things, and this is a balance of them trying to protect our money, right? Versus making the program workable. Right now, the struggle is the Westborough Youth and Family Services, the outreach folks at the senior center, and some other nonprofits that are referring people into the program and helping them with the application. It's very time consuming.
Yeah, okay.
It's not, I don't want to say it's overly time consuming. They expect to spend a couple hours, but it's hours and hours over days and back and forth and helping them try to get. So for example, and I want to bring this up, is if there's an adult without a bank account or an adult in the household that is not earning any income whatsoever, there's currently an affidavit that the applicants need to have those people sign, which have to be notarized, right? Which means, getting people to come in during business hours to the town hall or to the library or to someone else and do it. Our thought as a working group is, in just knowing how the serial program went, that rather than an affidavit that's notarized, have a self-certification statement that's witnessed by someone from the referring agency,
yeah,
right? So that someone because
like Youth and Family
Youth and Family
Services or Senior Center.
knows the family, the senior
Yeah.
center outreach people know the family.
Yeah.
They can say, yes, I know this person, and I believe that this statement is trustworthy,
Yeah,
is
true.
correct. And do it as a witness level, as opposed to, having the extra step of having to make an appointment somewhere and get it notarized.
Yeah.
It's little things on the paperwork.
Yeah,
The
okay, yeah,
financial system has changed, so there are households that don't have any bank accounts and do all their financial management through.
All right,
Cash
I'll
App
leave
or
that
Venmo.
to you, just
How do we
in
track that, right?
to keep on schedule
So
here.
we just want to make it work more efficiently.
Okay,
And
so,
then one other thing I just want to mention to anybody, I am a notary. So if we ever need certain things
Okay.
notarized, I can mention that. I don't know if Julia is a notary as well in Youth and Family Services, but
She's not.
She's not.
we work in the same building. If someone was up there working on an application, I could always offer to do that piece.
Awesome. That's really good to know. Thank you,
Okay.
Kristen.
yeah, let her know, just in case we need, although it sounds like we're not going to require that.
No.
Okay, with that change, and the only other thing I'm going to do is make sure that the QR code and the reference here goes right to the wrap page on the website.
Yeah.
Not to the main page, because that way
Right.
then they have to find the programs and stuff.
Right.
All right, and then I'm going to send this out. I gave you some prices. I don't know what number of these we would want. How many do you think would be reasonable? I mean, 200, 250 is usually the low end. We can go up to 500. And the one other thing was, should there be a limitation date on that? Like, does this end at some point
It says 4
and
months.
needs to be renewed?
Says it ends after 4 months, right?
No. I mean,
total program.
our program in
Oh,
terms.
We said that this was a pilot program for a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So we thought that, my understanding is that this was going to be, we put aside, what, $150,000 for this
Right.
year?
Yep.
So after this year, and then we would assess as we were going what the draw was.
Right.
So like right now we have 8 applications in. I don't know what the number is behind those 8 applications. So we can report back once we have some actual
Yeah,
fiscal
I just didn't
numbers.
know if we needed to put anything in here to let people know this is, or we just print it up
That's going to
and
confuse people.
it's going to confuse people.
Right,
Fine.
I mean,
I would-
fine,
It does say
fine,
it's a 1-year
fine.
pilot program.
You could, if it says it's a
Yeah,
one-year
they don't
pilot-
have a date, so
could
that's
say-
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. We're set.
That's
We're
fine.
set.
Yep.
I do have one question around
Yep.
the flyer. And I don't know if this has come up before, but has there been any discussion around alternate languages for the flyers?
So that is a great question, and I have no idea. So I'm wondering what the town's like stance on that is. Like, shouldn't
We
well,
could, so with the Sarah program, the school department was willing and able to provide translation. And they provided into 5 languages.
And was that on the document, though?
It was, they did the flyers,
The flyers?
the posters we did.
Just announcing.
No, they did the program posters.
it was
So-
like a poster. It was like an 8 by 8 by 11, and
Right.
it was all in 5 different
and
languages.
So
Yeah.
we posted at the library, the
Yeah,
senior center,
yeah.
town hall in 5 languages.
So this would be more than the poster was.
I would suggest that, and what I'll do is I'll get some of those, the trifolds, the plastic, you can keep them on the, desktop or something, or,
If you get me an editable version of that, we can ask.
so a publisher version.
A
Yes.
publisher version is fine. We can see if the school department can do the translation.
Because I know
work for us.
Julia had said a lot of the folks were English was not their primary.
She's
language.
working primarily with people that English is not their
And
Okay.
first language.
Spanish
I
and
want to
Port-
make sure
Spanish
that
and
people aren't
Portuguese.
scared
Right.
by a flyer that I don't know what any of this.
What are you
means.
working in for this?
Publisher.
There-
Microsoft Publisher.
There might be a translatable.
There is, but
Yeah,
when
it's-
you're doing stuff like this, I mean, they may be able to use that as a first cut, but then they need to do a reading.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like the school department, they use Google Translate. So that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
their first.
Right, so they'll,
But if they get a publisher document, that has the text, readable text or
they can cut and
accessible
paste and Google
text.
Translate by paragraph.
I mean,
Yeah.
they can grab, it's very easy for them to grab. I can send it,
I'll ask if they're able to do it. That we have a
Okay.
trifold file, we have an 8.5 by 11 trifold that we're looking to be translated.
and it's in
into-
publisher.
It's in Publisher. I mean, if they needed us to cut and paste it into Google Doc and cut and paste back in
That-
Publisher. we
that's
could do
fine.
that, Whatever,
The thing is,
we're looking at for
how many, if we're getting to that range, where we're gonna need different, I'll say different numbers depending upon language, and is it better for us to print this ourselves? I mean, the only difference would be, going outside, you get nice glossy, and it's bled to the edges. I don't know if it's that critical. It's
I
not
don't
like
think
we're
it's that critical.
selling
So,
It's not-
$5,000 piece of
no,
machinery.
I think,
Right.
I think
this alone
just
gets
doing
the
this
point
on a,
across, right? Like,
Huh?
This alone gets the point across.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
no, it is. And I think that's probably the best idea, and then we can almost print on demand.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
is like if we run out of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Spanish,
Okay,
we can
okay,
print more
done.
Spanish.
I won't
Yeah.
worry about then,
Your print quote was Staples or Curry?
it was from a third party, Uprint.
You print.
Yeah, if you go to Staples, it's very expensive.
Right.
For this stuff. And they can't even do the bleed to the edge, so.
Right, they're just a big.
Is the application itself in multiple languages?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I will ask though.
Not yet.
And
All right.
have
But we
we
can-
identified
I would
what
suggest having the
languages, like
application
Julia
in
could
multiple
tell us,
languages.
right?
Yeah, once
Like,
we
Is more
change,
important than the.
right, once we update the application, we
Yep.
can have the translated as well.
Yep, okay,
So I'd wait, let's wait till we reword it and
right now,
Okay,
yeah,
all
we'll
right.
wait till you get everything done.
All right, I will get a copy of this to you,
Okay,
the publisher copy.
Yep.
And a PDF, and so that they can at least see what it is.
Yeah.
Okay? So, all right, we have that for the, for wrap. Moving on,
Homeboro.
Homeborough.
Very, very quick update. Things are in place. Metro's Community Development's building the online application. What I'm working on right now, Kristen had done the research and pulled together sample documents. And so I'm working right now to create our version of the mortgage agreement, the loan agreement, I forget what the third document's called, then we have to have a closing statement and a checklist. So, sort of the loan document package and the grant document packages, so that those can be quickly reviewed by council. And so
Okay.
I'm working on that. I hope to have those off to council by Monday,
Okay,
and then we can, once we have those, then we have the,
we're ready to launch.
we're ready to launch.
Okay. Just on those two, both RAP and that, you did, can you give us a quick update? You met with Maureen Sullivan of the Community Advocate?
Yeah, she's writing an article sometime in the next couple of weeks about where we are with the programs.
Okay, good. All right, but is she waiting on our final things, or?
No, she's going to go ahead with RAP, and, she asked what's the goal for Homeborough, and it's have it running by the end of February, is what I told her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who to contact, or?
It's contact the trust. The RAP program is now on the website.
Yeah.
I got an initial page up, and once we're ready to launch Homeborough,
Yeah.
I can start building that page.
Okay.
And it can say coming soon.
All right.
Coming soon to a municipality near you.
To a great town, okay. Baylor, I know Kristen reached out. The permits are done, correct?
No.
No, okay. Can you give us an update, because you were talking to Mark?
Yeah, he sent a message yesterday and said he expects to get his revised stamped plan submitted with all the other requirements that were on the DPW's list.
Yep.
They had a checklist in order to issue the building permit. So he believes he should have that early this coming week.
Okay.
So provided he gives all of the things, he should have his building permit by the end of next week.
Then I would just ask whether, he doesn't have to come to the meeting, but if he could send us a memo before our February meeting, that confirming that the building permits have been issued, and a rough timeline for development. Like, when would he?
Okay.
When
Could
would he
you-
start working on the
Since you've been
property?
talking to him, Kristen, could you, because you'll know once everything is stamped, right?
Yep,
Just-
I'll see in the permitting portal.
Yeah.
Once the commissioner issues the permit.
Okay.
So I can circle back with him and just tell him we want that.
We need a
confirmation
timeline.
to the trust.
Yeah, we need a timeline at this point.
Kristen, just a question. The requirements we've put on the developer here, I'm assuming they're the standard requirements we put on any building permitting project, right?
Correct.
And the checklists are on the web and such, so we didn't go out of our way to hold him up. He just missed some of the issues along the way.
Right, he didn't think some of them were necessary,
Right. Well, I'm
and
just
it was
thinking
a
that
disagreement, but.
Many developers probably think we have requirements that are not necessary, but if they're documented, if they're documented as part of our process, they're part of our process. Stop arguing and comply.
Right.
And I think just because of the holiday and the different
yeah,
things that
right.
happened, it
Slows
kind
it
of
down,
extended it out a little bit, but he's fully aware, and he wasn't resisting or anything. He just wanted to know what the items were, and he's been working to get those, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you for doing that. Okay, moving on. 18 Lyman, I did respond. I went back to my emails. I did respond to Sharon saying I had no issues from the version that she last got back from Mark Donahue from
Okay.
Colangelo.
Do you want me to follow up with her?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
just want to, say, yeah, this is fine, let's execute. I mean, we have the money encumbered.
Okay.
And
And then for 25 Connector Road, I'll just, with the holidays and everything.
Yeah,
there
just
hasn't been
touch
much
base to see
communication.
where they
I'll
are.
touch base, see if the company interest that's acquiring the property, or maybe acquiring the property, is okay with the agreement as well.
Okay.
Is there another company?
So
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the folks
they're-
we negotiated, the folks who own the, unless the transactions happen already, the folks who came to us for the subsidy that we negotiated with, their business model is they convert extended stays into apartments. They either hold and operate them for a period of 10 to 15 years, or they sell them pre-conversion or immediately after conversion. they were approached by an investment group that was looking to acquire it, potentially pre-conversion. And
So
so
it
they
would
just
be
wanted to
permitted
make, they
and-
wanted to make sure that they, as the acquirer, didn't have any issues with the subsidy agreement.
Okay,
And so we were waiting to hear back before they signed, but I'll follow up with them and get the details.
okay.
But
Because there was an initial buyer that fell through.
so then maybe that initial buyer fell through. I haven't heard back.
Oh, okay, so then I think that agreement might have fallen through because we've been working with them to encourage them to get started on their LAU application.
Okay.
So, but you might want to confirm that.
I'll reach out to them and get the status on things.
Okay.
Okay.
If they're selling the property,
Well, yeah, that's
I
what
would
it
be
sounds like.
surprised if they would do the LAU,
Right.
because, I mean, that's onerous. I mean, it's
That's
it's
why
not
I'm thinking that
unreasonable,
it
but
fell
it's
through.
it's a very
Yeah.
lengthy
And the new
process.
one didn't come forward.
So, I mean, there's some advantage to them having the LAU in process, because it takes burden off the acquirer and stuff like that, but we'll see.
Agreed.
Okay. So but that's it for Connector Road. It's a matter of just finding out where they are and getting the agreement done. So,
You pass that down for Rod, just so he sees some of the stuff we're talking about here. Yeah, I hope everybody knows Rod Schaefer, who's from the AFC. He's our liaison, so welcome.
Unfortunately, 9 o'clock on whatever days you do it.
Friday, it's now Friday, the second Friday of the month.
I have quite a few on Westborough TV, so.
okay.
All the work as well.
Well, I know you have a long commute. Anyhow, all right, other issues and correspondence. A couple things. We had a bill before the House that allows us for 45 High Street Extension and Beach Street to allow any contractors to choose their own subs without having going through a full bid process. Yesterday, it had passed the House and Senate. Yesterday, the governor signed it, so
On the last day that she
that
could sign
possibly
it.
could, I think, or whatever.
And this is a thank you to the town, because this is a
Yes.
home rule petition
Shouldn't
that was approved at town meeting, so.
Yes, and I sent off a thank you letter
And it's-
to Senator Moore and Representatives Donahue and Kane, thanking them for guiding this through and supporting it.
Yep. And it is the first successful action that will lower or mitigate the cost of the project.
Right.
So for everything Hank's saying, this is going to cost us more and more and more, here's
This is
something
gonna
that
cost us
says this will help hopefully make it cost less.
Okay, so that was one issue. I had, what else did I have? That's, Hank, there was, we got a request on ADU, and maybe you can, we have something for
Yes.
everybody.
There's 4 of them there, Ed, that can go down. And I can give one to Kristen.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
Do you have one?
The Habitat for Humanity Executive Director.
yeah, wait until you get back on mic.
Thank you.
It has to do with ADUs, there is legislation passed that enabled, that required towns to enable ADUs. A variety of Habitat for Humanity folks, basically executive directors and some board presidents have been meeting and going over what can we do to influence the zoning requirements, that one, there's some uniformity across towns, that every town doesn't have totally different requirements on ADUs. And oh, by the way, to minimize the risk that towns will, I'll say inadvertently, to be polite, put restrictions on how ADUs are placed on the lot, or their size, or any number of things that are typical of zoning regulations that would make it very, very difficult to implement the ADU intent in their communities. and the Habitat directors they've come up with, they're asking folks who have an interest in this issue to send a letter to, I think it's to the, who are we sending the letter to? To the EOHLC, basically, requesting these requirements. And my question is, hey, is the Housing Trust interested, willing to, use the template, adjust it however is appropriate, and send a letter of support for what's going on? And oh, by the way, should we also request the planning department do the same thing? Because if the EOHLC were to adopt these requirements, it would impact the flexibility of the planning department in proposing and getting approval for ADU zoning requirements.
Yeah, I think we should, first of all, refer this to planning board. And, have them give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever, or concerns.
There's a little bit here
But
about.
let me just finish. And then from that, we can then decide. Optimally, the best thing would be to send in a petition, if you will, with both our signatures. But we can review this, but I think it's, and if you have comments, I would send them to Jenny at our town planner.
I would suggest a little different course of action, because
Okay.
some of this is zoning rules, some of this is really related to subsidized housing and affordable housing.
Right.
I would suggest that, one, we forward this to the planning board, asking them to consider their own action on this.
Yep.
That we do our own letter to this, regarding this as well, to EOHLC and CCR delegation. And that we consider in our advocacy role as an advisory to the select boards,
Yep.
suggesting that the select board do the same.
Okay.
And so timing on this, we would need to draft a letter to review at our next meeting.
Okay. For
us to send a letter, but in the meantime, we could ask.
Yeah, I just want us to be, I'll use the word united front.
I mean, we can talk to the planning director and to the planning board chair and see if they would be uncomfortable if we were to proceed with action supporting this while they're still considering it.
I mean, and we can limit our comments. I would suggest that our comments don't address things like setbacks and lot size and coverage,
Okay, just,
but that our comments are the subsidized housing inventory inclusion.
Right.
Because that is our,
That does, yeah. The
that's our
initial rent-
purview,
yeah,
and it's part
'cause
of our advocacy mission.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I just want to apologize for springing this.
Nope.
I just received the email last night.
Well, that's why we have issues and correspondence on the
And
agenda.
didn't want to wait another month to start the conversation. 'Cause it's
Okay. All right.
Clearly not going to be a short conversation.
Okay, so
So I'll work with you, Ed, to come up with a draft, and we can get folks.
if you can do that and coordinate with,
Planning.
send a copy
Our assistant
over.
town planner is here in the room.
I know, just so to make sure you have an official notification.
I'll forward to you a soft copy of this stuff that I just gave you a hard copy. And if you just talk to Jen and see if she wants me or anybody to talk with her or with her and
the board.
Hazel or whatever.
Right, and the zoning committee is in the
Yeah.
process of revising the
Whatever,
bylaws
Yeah.
to be in compliance with the
Yeah.
new
So
regulations.
we just want to,
Just kind of a paid political advertisement. I mean, I think the ADU mandate from the state is a really great opportunity
Yes.
to improve both the number of affordable units available, but also to have an impact on the over 55, over 62 affordable housing issue, because
Yes.
the limits are 900 square feet, so that's either a small two-bedroom or a one-bedroom apartment.
Yep.
Or a building, so, which will really be attractive to that demographic.
Yep. or even for.
Or starter home, I mean,
A
that's,
starter or
I mean,
rental or whatever, yeah. Well, it's probably not a starter. I think most ADUs will be rental units.
yeah, but,
Yeah, but,
that's.
so it
depends
may
on
not be
how-
a starter home, may not be a
There
workforce
may
housing.
be some sort of conduit structure that allows it, I don't know yet.
maybe.
But I think you're gonna see some creative
Right.
ownership
I
and
would-
rental.
I think it would be nice to have sort of a ADU specialist or somebody that's really tracking on this and understands it, because at some point, what I think might be helpful is to have a meeting, an open forum for the town about ADUs, where we can do presentations at the library or something else to let people know at some point, the benefits of this and answer questions and things like that.
I'm assuming there'll be some zoning proposals either at spring or fall town meeting, and
Yeah.
as that approaches, that would give us opportunity to do a
Right,
lot
right. But
with
I
the
would,
planning.
I would like to get somebody on the board here that would be willing to make sure they're up to date on everything regarding ADUs. If
You went
they're-
to a conference, didn't you, Ed?
We went to a conference that talked a little bit about it.
Oh, okay.
I went to a webinar that talked more about cottages
Oh, okay.
than the ADUs. But I have some books that I've ordered from AARP, which has a really wonderful suite of books that describe.
I'll see if I can, I'll talk with my Habitat counterparts and see if they can tell me where they're going to get information and such. Because again, Habitat has amongst the Habitat staff people in Massachusetts, they've got a pretty active effort. I can ask them how they're doing it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for your attention on that.
Yep, yep. And the only thing I'm going to do is the last thing I have, unless somebody else has something.
I have something.
Yep, go ahead.
So we received notification from TD Bank Charitable Foundation that the application process for their
Oh, grants.
housing-related program are open. So there wasn't enough time to add it to an agenda for official vote, but if there are no objections, I'd like, if someone wants to help, put in an application for the rental assistance program. Just given that we've been up and running for less than 2 weeks and we've got,
Yep.
8 applications and we know others are coming, we're going to, the expectation is that we're going to use those funds. And even if demand levels out, the TD Bank grants run for 18 months. So this could fund the program,
First
supplement,
calendar year
Yeah.
plus.
From
Get us through next
from
fiscal.
July, at least through the end of the next, the July 2026.
5 fiscal.
Yeah. So through fiscal year 26.
Yep.
And so I believe the application's due on the 17th.
Okay.
So
Next Friday?
yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to start working on it this weekend,
Okay.
if that's okay
You
with
have
everyone.
bandwidth?
I don't
No,
know
that's
why
I can,
fine.
I can, I can help you again
Okay. Cool.
before my semester actually starts.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, if you can be doing that, that would be a big help. And then especially, we can show the, between website, the flyers, the applications,
Right.
the money we've already encumbered
Right.
and sent.
So one question that would be helpful from MWCD is if all 8 applications were approved,
How much would that be?
for the 2 months, how much that would be.
We could extrapolate almost.
But we don't know
We don't know
Yeah,
what the
how
rents
How much
are.
they're-
we don't know rents and
How much they're behind and
Yeah.
all that.
right. We don't know rent and unit size. So if they could just provide that number, and then we would assume that we could assume that half of those might need an additional 2 months,
Yeah.
and come up and say, look, The program has been up for a
2
month.
weeks and we already have this
A
much.
month, and this is the initial round of applications in fund expenditures. We still have good data about the need, the burden rate, and the eviction rate. The eviction rate for Westborough is down,
Yeah,
Great.
but when you still look at the
but we're
average
still up there.
over the last 18 months, we're still above the state average, so.
Okay. All right. Just one last thing I have, just to keep people up to date. This is, pass me down. This is just FYI, more or less, for, as you can see, this is just, once again, report for our, where we stand with, the last column, the rightmost column shows us our fiscal year to date status. I got the Rockland Trust statement as of December 31st. And there are some more expenses that do not reflect in here because I'm waiting for a dump from town. But, we can see that we did get the 240,000 contribution from the mitigation money that came in. And we have right now a balance of 1.6 million. We expect to go to town meeting for another 200,000, so that'll bring us up to unencumbered 2 million.
Okay.
So, just we're in good shape. It's important to keep an eye on things. We're not hitting any limits of anything, so I will have a hopefully up-to-date next month.
Do we have anything that's as of September 30th? Can we produce this as of September 30th? And then once you have the additional information, do it as of December 31st?
You mean have two reports?
Yeah, basically start doing quarterlies.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Okay.
Is to do quarterlies. I mean, obviously, let me do this. Let's do this, and then
Okay.
planning to do it quarterly.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk to you offline.
Okay. It's just a matter of, getting numbers from finance department,
Understood.
which is just getting a dump of expenses. I was hoping to have gotten that,
Okay.
but I'm sure it'll be coming in next day or two. But yeah, we can talk.
Okay.
I can work back and get what would that be? First quarter fiscal.
Yeah. Okay.
25. Okay, any other issues of correspondence? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn?
Okay, I got a motion here. Second is Steve, and we are adjourning at 10:14. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Westborough
vote on
TV.
that.
Oh, yes, do we need a vote to adjourn? Yeah, 5-0. 5 being president. Thank you, Westborough TV.